Ladies and gentlemen, from the mid 1960s to the mid 1970s, Toronto Maple Leafs were known for making boneheaded trades, decisions, roster movements, whatever. Now, this case, I talked about the Pierre Pilote career in the previous podcast. I didn't want to get into much about the trade that found himself from Chicago to Toronto because I didn't want to bogart that podcast with something I really wanted to expand on. So I'm going to do it right now. Jim Pappin, one of the most dedicated Toronto Maple Leaf prospects of the early to mid 1960s, who helped the team win 2 Stanley Cup, was summarily run out of town for a player in Pierre Pilote that was well past his prime, maybe had a half season and 1 season left. He was nearing retirement. I still don't understand. Now, Pappin led, with the talented Chicago teams, they got to the Stanley Cup Finals in 71 and 73 after the trade. So who got the better of the trade? He's one of the top scorers in the NHL after he found a home literally in Chicago. Now, James Joseph Pappin, born in the beautiful community of Sudbury, Ontario, was a 6-foot-tall, 190-pound right winger. Now, he first came to prominence with some really successful seasons with the Toronto Marlies of the OHA. His second year with the Marlies, he had 40 goals in 48 games. Now, he did play also that year with Sudbury of the EPHL, where he scored 1 goal in 4 games. Now, in 61, he wasn't drafted by Toronto, but he was on the roster, of course. He played with Sudbury in 61, scoring 17 goals. Now, the next 4 seasons, he was mired in the minors, no pun intended, with Rochester. And he was putting up okay numbers. Now, Toronto finally gave him that break in 64, which, of course, he won the Cups. He never had a point in the playoffs, but he was part of a solid third, fourth line of the team. Now, he scored 11 goals that year. Now, 65, he basically was sent back down to Rochester for their playoff run after scoring 9 goals for Toronto in 44 games. Back to Rochester again in 66, where he scored 36 goals. He only had 7 games with Toronto that year. In 67, again, he fought his way back to Toronto, 21 goals in the regular season, and led all playoff scores that year, and scored the Stanley Cup winning goal, ladies and gentlemen, for Toronto against the hated Montreal Canadiens. Now, who knows what Toronto was thinking at the time? Now, in the finals, he had 4 goals and 6 assists against the Montreal Canadiens. Now, again, that Game 6 goal really put them over the top. Now, 10 points against the Habs in a short 6-game series. My God, you got to be really good to do that. So how did he treat him, ladies and gentlemen? Well, at 68, they were playing more mind games with him, and he only had 13 goals in 58 games. He was traded to Chicago again for Pierre Pilote, although he was an all-star. It's like trading your best wide receiver for Peyton Manning at age 40. Anyway, this is what happened, ladies and gentlemen. Between 1969 and 1975, his goal totals were this: 30, 28, 22, 27, 41, where he had 92 points overall, 32 and 36. You imagine how many goals he would have scored if Toronto would have given him a chance. He would have been 400 goals easily by the mid-1970s. Now, like I said, he's very good in the playoffs. 71 when he took Montreal to 7 games. In 18 games, he had 10 goals and 4 assists, and almost scored one of Chicago's biggest goals ever against Dryden in a famous Game 7. Now, in 73, they got back to the finals. He had 15 points in 16 games. And no matter the time he made the playoffs, he made Chicago look great and, kind of their unofficial top player on the second line. Now, he was then sent to the California Golden Seals and finally wrapped up his career in Cleveland, which, of course, wasn't the best end to a career. But overall, 573 points in 767 games. The playoff totals were outstanding, ladies and gentlemen. 33 goals, 34 assists for 67 points in 92 games. Now, when he retired from hockey, his expertise on hockey as a minor hockey player, as a major league player, allowed him to take a very important job. He was a director of U.S. scouting for the Chicago Blackhawks. And you see all the great American prospects that the team had throughout the years before he moved on to the Anaheim Ducks. But he's also part of a trivia question, ladies and gentlemen. He was also in the news in 2007 when he lost his Stanley Cup ring, and it was eventually found by Florida treasure hunter Mark Dizamaria in the Gulf of Mexico. How the heck did the Stanley Cup ring was found after being lost in the Gulf of Mexico? Now, Pappin, when he found out, eventually struck a deal with the treasure hunter, and the ring was returned for a reward. Thus, the Toronto Maple Leaf story with a happy ending after a terrible 1960s. So, let's put this in perspective. If you would have kept Frank Mahovlich and Pappin, okay, you would have scored an extra 40 to 70 goals a year. So when Toronto was using all these non-offensive defensemen and forwards and getting rid of players, didn't keep Gary Unger or Rennie Robert or other people. Shocking. That's all I can say. But ladies and gentlemen, he played 8 years in Rochester, being messed around and frigged around with. And you know, the AHL was very good at the time, but especially 65 when he had 16 points in the playoffs. You know, he was a money performer. As soon as the playoffs come closer, René Lecavalier said that. I wish Jimmy Pappin was part of Montreal Canadiens because, you know, when you saw Pappin on the ice, you know, he wasn't like, you know, Wayne Gretzky, but he was going to score. He was going to either make a great pass or get a great goal. Anyway, that's just my opinion. But, you know, when you're when you get a name like Pappin, when I was growing up, it was like a player that was underrated. And his last name suited him because he wasn't overrated in no shape or form. I bet there's a lot of people listening to podcasts for the first time had no idea that he was effed around by Toronto as much as he was when he needed somebody like Jim Pappin. So, you know, Punch and Lack, Harold Ballard, all these people, you know, the Donald Trumps of their era, hockey-wise. But at least with Donald Trump, he played all these players. Look at the USFL. He's a satanic antichrist, but, you know, at least he played all these players. I don't think Satan benched Beelzebub or whatever you call him. So, anyway, let's not talk politics here. We're talking about Jim Pappin. Anyway, great career. That's why we're doing the podcast. Have a good day.